You have to understand this, the young players. Alright, this is what's happening in your out of tune instrument. This is the true length. This is where we measure. We don't measure this. What I'm trying to say is, if there is a string that you put over here, which is floating, same as this, but when you press the 12th fret, when you press the string on the 12th fret, it makes an angle. You see, the straight string which was up to here, hanggang dyan, this is your not, when you press, which is your fret is down here, this will make an angle like this. When you push your 12th fret like this, and it makes an angle, the length of this one and this one, pareho ba yan o hindi na? Hindi na. It's not the same anymore. So the string has to sharp, it will stretch more. So the note will go higher. So mathematically, wag na, pahirapan mo pa ako lapit. So what's happening here on the real theoretical, mathematical, 100% accurate, when you apply, me as a guitar maker cannot apply. Because this doesn't exist on the instrument. Are you with me? So how do I correct my instrument so that it will not go, so it will go an octave when I push on the 12th fret. Komando, do, exactong octave. How do I do that? I have to, what we call, fine-tune the instrument. You have to make a compensation. What is a compensation? A compensation means, because of the stretching of the note, which will make this note higher, you want to ease it down to get it to the exact octave of the open string. You push, for the makers, this is very important. You have to push, or you have to make the saddle bone around 2 millimeters backwards. Now, how do I know it's 2 millimeters? Okay, the out of tune is caused by the gauge of the string. The thicker the gauge, the 6th string, on the 6th string of a guitar, if you notice your guitar, the saddle is not straight. You know what a saddle is? Where the string goes. Nakaganon siyang konti. It's inclined a little bit. Because if it is straight, you will not be able to tune your instrument whatsoever. So it has to have a compensation of at least 2 millimeters back. Natapos na, that's it. Do I make sense? Alright, there was another question. How come my bandurria, when I go from my hotel or from where I am, coming to the performing stage, gets out of tune? Okay. It's very easy to answer that question. Alright, if you tune your instrument in a relative humidity of between 50 to 60, i-tune mo yan, no? Relative humidity means the water in the air. Because bandurrias and guitars are made out of wood. Wood is hygroscopic, which means it will absorb and give out water. Every time it absorbs water, it will become bigger. And without the water, it goes back. Alright. Now, if you had tuned your instrument to a 50 to 60 relative humidity, and then you go out of your hotel, the relative humidity in the air in Manila is around 85. You have 25% more, which means that your instrument will take in water. It will expand. Okay? What happens when it expands? It will change the tension of the strings. The heat also affects that. Pag mainit, the string will become looser. So when you tune it in a 65 humidity, and then you move it outside to 85, your do will not be do, it will be flat. And then you bring it back to CCP, and then you will try it where the air condition is, around 45 relative humidity. It's going to pull. And so you have all this getting out of tune problem. For the performers, you bring your instrument to the place where you're going to perform at least 1 hour. Leave it there. Leave it there. Magkape muna kayo. Drink coffee, go out and have fun. Come back, all your instruments will be out of tune. But that's a natural phenomena. That's natural. Because it is hygroscopic. The wood is organic. You see, maybe that won't happen if you use plastic or whatever material. But I don't want to play a plastic guitar. You know? See? Now, another out of tune problem is about the frets. Now, I was listening to all the fret comments and all that. We have different, we call it height of the fret, the crown, yung taas ng fret, the height of the fret. Some are high, some are medium, some are low. How come we have all that? It all depends on what kind of music you play. If you are going to play blues, for example, you know what blues are, right? You want to do a lot of bending. Huh? So what kind of fret does the instrument must have? It has to have a higher fret, so when you do that, it creates that resonating, favoring the blues music. Does that make sense? Now, for the bandurria, which I don't think you guys want to go with the 3 strings that you have to push, what you want is a lower fret, lower fret yung crown. Because it's small, the bandurria is small like this. When you go up, and if you have a high crown, mataas yung fret mo, the harder you push, the more it will go. Does that make sense? So you want a lower one, so when you push, it will not go beyond the intonation. It will stay in the intonation. Does that make sense? Yeah? Alright, now about the alignment. I heard that the alignment of the strings, there was this issue. So ito yung fingerboard, ganyan yung fingerboard, nandyan yung fret, ganyan, ganyan. Actually, it's not like that. It gets wider, no? It gets wider. Pitaso nga, kayo naman. This is pitaso. Alright, just to explain this, the question was, it's not in the center, maybe you're out of center, but we have a reason for that. Okay, magkakaroon ako ng maraming kaway dito. I'm going to have a lot of enemy maybe. But anyway, if this is your first string, and this is your, I'm talking about the guitar, 6th string, I want the distance from the wood to the first string around 5 mm. And here, only 4 mm. Bakit ganon? It's not in the center. Why don't I put it like 4.5 and 4.5 there to make it in the center? Because of the technique. In the classical guitar, we have what we call the legato. Legato is pull off. I don't know if you do that in the bandurria. Now, if there is no wood enough here, first string will fall off, which happens all the time if it's not like that. So you have to at least understand why it's out of line, but not too much. Na mahuhulog naman yung 6th string. Because the legato goes, pulling it this way. So if there is no more wood or fret over there, but in the bass, there's no problem. Because if you can do like that, there's still wood or enough wood to move around. Because you don't do a legato that way. You know, we do a legato this way. So, okay lang? Do I make sense?
Yes.
Alright. I'm talking about luthering. I don't want to talk about wood and all that because that's already been discussed. There's a lot more to talk about that, but I'm going to talk about construction, okay, because that's what I am right now. Soundboard design. If you put two, book matching, no? Book matching is one piece of wood that you cut right in the middle and you open like that. Okay? Many makers, I hope I'm wrong, glue it like that, no? And then put the bracing. So, sa bandurya, parang teardrop lang yun eh. Parang ganun. Diba? Now, the wood is actually in two pieces. So, it's book mashed. Right? Now, if you just put the wood like that, and then put the bracing, for example, like that, maybe there's a bracing, I don't know how it's done, maybe like this, and like that, and like that, and like that, like a guitar, and maybe like that. Maybe, I'm not sure, but this is what I know on the guitar. If you just glue it like that, what's going to happen is, when the humidity changes, it will sink. When the strings are, if this is your bandurria, can I use this as a demo? What's this? I don't want to use this. I want to ask permission. All right. All right, I'm talking about this part, no? Absolutely here. I'm talking about the front. Now, if you glue all the bracing like this, unbracing kasi, that's your ribs, the bracing are your ribs to support your body, to support this one. All right. Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit. On the guitar of 6 nylon string, all right, the tension is around 40 pounds. So the classical guitar holds 40 pounds of tension 24 hours as long as the player lives, or even if he's dead. On an electric guitar, it's 80 because of the steel string, and that's only 6 string. Now on this little instrument, we have how many? 14. If I would calculate this, this has more than 100 pounds of brute energy right now. You see? So this is under punishment. It's 24 hours. Can you imagine carrying a bag of cement? Isang sako ng semento, 25 kilos yan eh. 50 pounds lang yan. You have to carry two, isa dito, isa doon. And he's doing it right now. This little instrument is carrying 2 bags of cement right now. So can you imagine the problem of the maker? To build an instrument, a very thin instrument that could hold all those tension. That makes sense? So let's go back to the design of the soundboard. All these bracings are for stabilizing, to be able to come up with a solution to handle that tension. Besides that, making it sound pretty. So, if you are just going to put it like that and put the bracings like that, when you put the strings, this thing will collapse. Gaganon yan eh. It will concave. Yeah, it will go like this. This thing is going to just push because this is too much tension. It's going to push and push and push until one day no more to push, no more instrument, you have to buy new one. So, you have to come up with a technology to solve that problem. This is now engineering. Now, we come up with we call it solar, like a mold. No? Solar is a piece of thick wood that you are going to put the wood which you have glued together, and that's where you're going to put the bracings. The solar is a very important thing because it is not flat. So solar, where you put the wood, is not flat. It's ganyan. It has an arc. It has a convex, both sides. It's all like arced in the middle. And now you get a piece of wood which is straight. You put it over there, and then you force it down the mold. Does that make sense? And when it's all dry with the glue, pag natuyo na siya, you take it out, you can see that the top is puffed, stirred like this. Now, what does that do? When you put it on the guitar, on the bandurria, which is like this now, a little bit, when this one pushes, it will tune up the instrument. The wood will become stiffer. Instead of collapsing, it will fight. It will fight the tension, which favors the vibration. It's a long talk. I'm going to stay here forever, you know, if I want to explain exactly what's going on. All right? Now, with that concept, there's so many things going into my head right now. I don't know what to say. You're right. All right. If you have to see the advantage, if you have that one like that, this pushes like this, the side will try to move out because it's pushing it, which will favor the inside, the space inside to widen, which favors the sound. Now, if it was flat like this, you didn't use the mold, and if it pushes, it will go like this, the side will implode, it will go inside. And that will make the instrument sound lesser because hindi siya makaganon eh, nakaganon siya eh. Does that make sense? You see? So those things are very important. I'm not going to talk about wood, which is also very, very important in wood because of the stability. See? So I'm going to talk about it. Okay. Now, as you have read over there, Mr. Wu's presentation, German spruce is best for sound. I always ask why. I've been working with only German spruce for more than 40 years. Okay, anyway, that's not the point. The point is, if it is quarter zone or radial cut, we call, you will see, if you look at the very good guitar, there is a fiber. If this is your board, all the grains goes like this. This is called the quarter zone. Pag tinignan mo, are you following? Do you follow? Yeah. Yes. All right. This line here is harder than the space here. Yung space niya, pag ginano mo ng kuko yan, babawin yung kuko mo. It will sink. But if you do that over here on the grain, you will not be able to sink it. Now, what am I trying to say? All this space, hard, soft, hard, soft, hard, with soft, hard, are important for the balance of the sound. It's very, very important. If you have a wood which is slab cut, which is not cut in this even way, slab cut is something in a wood like that, and then the grains goes like this. The integrity of this wood will not allow it to vibrate to its maximum. Because this one will go. While this one, because it's very finely tuned, it will go like this. Now, if you knock it like that, like you will see, you will hear that this kind of wood, if it's seasoned, it's not green, you know, relative humidity is down. If you do like that, it will sound like ding, 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 ding. But if you knock the same spruce but cut in a different way, it will go dug, dug. And by that, you already know what kind of instrument you're going to make. If you use a dug, dug wood, then the instrument will go dug, dug. But if you're going to use ding, 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 so the instrument will go ding, 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 ding. As simple as that. That makes sense? Okay. So, no. I get carried away. Any question? I can keep talking and talking about this, but I don't want to do that. Today's Valentine's Day.
What principle do you use to lay out the fingerboard for guitar?
We have a formula. I have a hard question right now because I don't remember anymore because I made a plate to do that. But it's something like, how many was it? 18.7871, something like that. We're talking about how the frettings were done, you know. Yeah, we have a formula for that, which is very important. But right now, I don't want to talk about that because I don't remember anymore. I cannot talk about. Sorry about that. And I don't think you guys are interested in it. Any more question, please? The sound hole of the instrument is another issue. You know, kung walang sound hole ito, if you don't have a sound hole here, if you play this instrument, it will sound inside, the sound will go inside. I mean, it will not come out. I think that's logic, isn't it? Now, if you put a hole here, a small hole, then it will kind of probably come out of the box from this. Now, the bigger the hole, the pitch of the instrument will go up. So if you make the hole too big, you will have a very high pitch instrument. Does that make sense? High pitch instrument is different from high note. High note is when you play a high in this one. But I'm talking about the pitch in general, the pitch of an instrument. There are pitch of an instrument. When you make it a little bit thicker, the pitch will go down lower, but that's relative. I'm not saying that's always the case. But I'm just talking about the sound hole. The bigger the sound hole, the pitch will go higher and higher. Pag wala ng sound hole, wala ng tunog. No more. No more. Okay? Now the thickness here, the deeper it is, the bigger it is, the sound seems to be louder, which is not true. No. A ukulele, which is built correctly, will penetrate more. We call the decibel. Okay? It could be heard more. A very big instrument, when you can feel the sound, but it's not audible anymore. The instrument is too for the ear to catch. While the cry of a baby, pag umiyak ang bata, rinig na rinig. Because it has a pitch to alarm the mother. You see, it's the same thing. It's a baby. But when it cries, the mommy will come right away because of the pitch and the decibel, the penetrating capacity of the sound. See? In fact, the bigger it goes, the murkier the sound will be. It will be out of